This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings, powered by eXp Realty. Online at madeformoreliving.com.
So we're back on the show with Pops, a.k.a. John Jennings II, and we've talked about what you've observed in Valerie and my growth, because both as, husband and wife and in real estate, we've talked about what you've observed, and of course we've talked about cigars a little bit. But before we broke previously, you were talking about challenges and things like pushing your kids, me, my brother and sister, to just grow. And that is something that I've carried with me to adulthood. It's something that I really, really enjoy doing. And you've actually been a part of many of these challenges, right? So there was the one where I wouldn't necessarily call it a challenge. It's just I remember you as a kid preparing to hike for Mount Whitney, and then there was the time when we got to hike Mount Whitney together, you, me, and a buddy, and so that was a one of those moments where it's like you, as a little kid, you're like, maybe someday when I'm big, I'll be able to do it, and then you achieve the goal, and you're like, wow, that's a pivotal moment in my life. But you've also been there for some other ones, like the 4x4x48. That's where you run. It's a David Goggins thing. So David Goggins is a former Navy SEAL, and 4x4x48 means you run 4 miles every 4 hours around the clock for 48 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. And so it ends up being like, what is it? I don't know how many miles, but a lot of miles.
A lot of miles.
And but I honestly wouldn't have been able to accomplish that. Or I would have been less likely to take on the challenge if you weren't going to be the crew support type of fellow, making sure I'm not getting run over, roadkill on the side of the road. So there was that, and then Alcatraz. That was something else I did that was prompted by my upbringing, where I swam from Alcatraz to shore. Right.
Wow.
So every year on my birthday. And then there was the 30. What was it? 35 miles. So I'm not a runner. I hate running. Not my thing. But for my birthday, I decided I wanted to run a marathon. I'd never run a marathon before, and so I was looking up this route, and then I realized, okay, wait, from Folsom Lake to Sacramento is about 35 miles on this trail, and so I was like, why don't I just do that? Like 26 miles.
Why run a marathon when I can run 26 miles and I can run 35?
Yeah,
when I don't like to run.
We'll just do that. Just a few extra miles.
He was trained early.
And so, anyways, we prompted that. But I have to say, the biggest challenge that still has ripple effects in my life was weightlifting, because in high school, I'm not the biggest guy right now. But I was a stick. I was a little twig, right? And
there were goals. You saw that wall.
Yeah, I saw the wall. They had this thing called the wall. And the wall had like a 1,000-pound wall, a 1,250 wall, and a 1,500-pound wall. And there was only, I think, one guy's name, maybe two guys' names on the 1,500-pound wall at the time.
And what is that? Because I assume you weren't lifting 1,500 pounds.
No, so it was a compilation of adding up all your different lifts. So it was bench press, deadlift, clean, and squat.
Okay.
And so it would have to add up to 1,000 pounds or greater to be on the 1,000-pound wall, 1,250 or greater to be on the 1,250 wall, and then but anyways, ended up achieving that. So I started out as the weakest out of all my friends freshman year, and sophomore year we did some weightlifting together, and then some of them fell off junior year, and then all of them fell off senior year except me, and so I ended up lifting all 4 years of high school, and I vividly remember that last deadlift in high school. Alejandro Bautista was spotting me and pulling up the weight, and I just felt like, wow, I accomplished something that took me 4 years. Right, 4 years is a long time for anybody, but when you're 17 years old, relationally, it's comparatively, it's a long time.
Yeah,
and so I just remember walking into Mr. Lucero's classroom the English, and I was like, he's like, how are you doing, Johnny? I was like, oh, I'm doing good. He's like, okay, what had just happened? And I was like, I just made the 1250 wall. I think that year there was maybe 3 guys that did it in our school. So it was not a common thing, but not like nobody did it, you know? And so, and he's like, of course you did. And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, you set your sight on a goal and you work on it till it's achieved. And so I thought, and then in that moment, that became part of my identity. And so now, fast forward, that was, 2006, almost 20 years ago, that is still carrying forward. And we set a goal. We want to sell this person's house. We set a goal. We want to work with this client. We want to partner with this person. My goal is to see it through to completion.
I think all those goals you're referencing, your attitude went back way before.
I was going to ask, have I always been that way, or?
Well, it was kind of hard not to be, because I was always pushing you, and sometimes I was wondering if I was pushing you too hard. But
I never felt that. I can't speak for Paul or Ashley. Like,
there were a couple of times that.
That's not true. I never felt that.
We didn't tell Mom about it until years later. And when we went up to Edison, and Lake Edison in California, and you jumped off the 40-foot cliff, and you were 10.
That probably wasn't the best parenting idea.
But I went down and checked the water, see if there were any rocks or anything.
It's perfectly safe just do
and it. I didn't notice the snakes in the water until afterwards. But then. Unfortunately, I didn't get the shot that I wanted, and you had to do it again.
Oh, I forgot about that. Maybe do it twice. It took me 45 minutes to jump off this rock. And then well, you got to do it again. I was like, you got to be kidding me, Pop.
The lens cap on.
But everything that you have done, and I would give you a task. I have one of my favorite pictures of my son of all times is he's a little 12-year-old boy. He looks like he's a little Arnold Schwarzenegger standing on these logs. I told him that I would get him some type of electric video game.
PlayStation.
The
OG PlayStation.
And I told him, all you got to do to get this PlayStation is build me some steps with these 12-foot...
railroad ties.
They weren't railroad ties. They were actually telephone poles that I had cut into 12-foot sections.
So not even square.
And no
they weren't.
And he had to put in... I think it was 9 or 10 of them up the side of a berm in the back of our house. And I showed him how to do the first one. And I said, okay.
And you made it look so easy, by the way. I was like, I'll be done by tomorrow.
And he proceeded to just put his butt in the air and grab that pick, and he worked all day. This is a little kid, and he just did it. And there were so many things in your life that were preparing you for getting things done, not quitting. And you just don't quit. You don't. Whether it's swimming. Seriously, son, the swimming by yourself. None of his friends would swim.
In high school?
In high school. It was high school. And
that's dumb. Swimming's like the best sport. It's hot. You can jump in the water and swim.
Right.
But then there's girls. Like, come on. This is the best.
Okay.
Come on, guys.
Yeah, but again, how smart you were. And just the solitary nature of swimming. We're not talking about, 50 yards. We're talking 10, 12, 15,000 yards a day where you're just in the water by yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
you're in your own mind at that point. Yeah.
And that separated you. Everything in your life prepared you for what you're doing now.
Yeah. It definitely laid the foundation. And that's something that I see so many agents struggle with in our industry, because over 90% of real estate agents leave the real estate industry in 5 years or less, like 9 out of 10. And so
they quit.
And so what we encourage agents to do is, hey, this is hard. This is normal. Just keep persevering. Do these things. You'll see some progress over time. But, and this is another Grant Cardone thing that I picked up, was don't quit when you're losing. So if you are struggling in real estate,
you try harder.
And don't wait until you get that next sale. After you get that next sale and you have some money, look up, take a deep breath, and decide, hey, is this the industry I want to be in? Or should I pivot to something else?
Yeah.
But at least wait till you get that sale. But if you quit when you're down, then all of a sudden you've just broken something.
That's going to be your life.
You've just broken something that then is going to be more likely to happen again. And maybe not in your professional life, but maybe in your personal, maybe in your fitness journey, maybe in your financial life. So don't quit when you're losing. Just get that win and then make a decision about, hey, what's the best path forward?
Right.
Thanks so much for being on the show, Pops. We're not done yet, though. Back after this.
It's called the sandwich generation when you're taking care of not only your kids, but also your parents who are aging. And that can be very emotional and stressful. For instance, Emily, she needed to sell her dad's home in Rockland in order to pay for his assisted living facility. And she was stressed out. She heard about Tom and Johnny with Made for More here on The Fish and decided to call them up. They talked. Guess what? They sold her dad's house in less than 30 days, giving Emily enough time and money to make those arrangements to help her dad.
And that's a difference of working with an expert who's selling more than just a handful of houses a year. They're doing it on a regular basis. So there are no surprises for them, and you can be completely confident that they're going to get you the best price for your house. And if you're curious what kind of offers you can get, the high end, the low end, or you want a cash offer, just Google Made for More Realty to get in contact with Johnny Jennings and the Tom Daves Real Estate team, and they will take great care of you. And remember, you get more with Made for More. License number 581837.